Hi, good morning. I just took the first sip of this sweet, sweet cup of coffee. It's so good. It's still the same bag of grounds that I bought from the farmer's market 2 Saturdays ago. It's Saturday, by the way. And I still have some left. And I'm like, will it last me all week till the next farmer's market, or should I buy some more now? Or do I let this run out and take this opportunity to switch back to tea? I'm on the fence because this is so good. Anyway, that's not why we're here. But I am waking up. It's like not even, what time is it? 5:32 in the morning. I woke up at 2:27 and I've been awake ever since. But it's Saturday, and if I need a nap, I can take a nap. Nothing too strenuous going on for me today. I did have a moment of clarity earlier, though, when I was picking out what I probably will shortly. So I already pulled out my beach walk stuff, blankets if I want to sit down to think, my shorts, tank, bathing suit top, and my belongings. I won't take my purse though. And then I'm sitting here. The reason we're here is this, lesson 31. I am not the victim of the world I see. The moment of clarity was that, oh, here it is. I am not going to hand wash a whole week's worth of laundry, which is more like 2 weeks because it was a sweaty week. Worn like almost everything in my closet. Is that zoomed in? Oh, I can't zoom in, so that's about right. So I thought I'm gonna just go to the eye wash where I can sit and have a nice juice or a glass of water and read and think. You know, think from the heart, not from the brain, which I'll get into that. That's kind of what this is, what has led me more into this lesson. But like, watch the world go by while my laundry, it's like a laundromat. So I'll just put it in, sit there, read, contemplate, read, sip, read. It's gonna be beautiful. Instead of like standing at the outside sink, soaking and washing and agitating and twisting my laundry. I developed a blister last week from twisting my water out of my laundry. Even when I adjusted my technique, I still got a blister. I'm like, I can't be doing that because I am touching people's bodies. I go around the room in class as a TA and help correct and guide students in learning new moves, new strokes. I can't be having blistery hands. So luckily I dropped it. Luckily that was a small one and it healed. It was like right there. It was small and it healed before Monday, so that was good. But yeah, now I'm very cautious. So here's me justifying like spending money on my laundry instead of doing it myself. But I do have my own detergent. That'll save me money because they charge a lot for that at the eye wash. Rightfully so. It's expensive. That's not why we're here. You guys, I think my problem is I went into such a state of quietude this week around Wednesday, Thursday, that it was that humility that descended upon me. And I just went quiet, and I didn't take any photos all day Thursday, probably most of Friday. Didn't take any videos. And when I realized that at the end of each day, I was like, oh yeah, that's because I went more inward versus outward. And it felt good to do that because there was some deep healing going on that needed my attention, and therefore I didn't take any photos or videos, didn't put any words out. And so now I guess it got backed up and now I'm talking too much. I just did an hour-long voice journaling as I lied here, as I laid in bed. And so I guess the volcano got, like, the energy got, and now it's all, so forgive me. Sorry, not sorry. So, lesson 31 of A Course in Miracles. I am not the victim of the world I see. I am not the victim of the world I see. The practice was to do this morning and evening for an extended time, like a couple minutes each, and then several points throughout the day. Obviously, I didn't get to all of that. When I did think about it, though, I kept forgetting the exact phrasing of I am not the victim of the world I see. There's something funny going on with my brain. My ego is starting to recognize, so I'm starting to recognize my ego's trickiness. It's so weird. It's so weird to even say this. It makes me sound like a lunatic or something, like bonkers. Like, once I've started looking inward at my mind, not just like how I feel about things, but looking at the way my mind works. I thought I knew my mind. I know my brains. I know, like, my intelligence levels. I know what I'm able to do with my brains. But when I look at my mind, it's a weird, tricky place. It is slippery and sneaky, and it is tricky. I see you, ego. I see you. And so what I mean by that is I think it's catching on. My ego mind is catching on that I'm catching on to it. And now it's like a game of hide and seek sometimes, of like, sometimes it's like, okay, you got me. I'll be good. Fine. Put me in timeout. I deserve it. I've been naughty. I've been sneaky. I've been a sneaky little teenager trying to get away with things. And then other times it's like full on, I'm hiding right now out of self-preservation. She's about ready to squash me. She wants ego death. She wants to kill me. And I'm like, no. I need you. Come out of hiding. Where are you? I need you. I love you. To like coax it back out into a healthier space, you know. Isn't that wild? Have you ever looked at your mind that way? It's enlightening, to say the least. And it's fun. It is fun because it's a form of harmonizing, not control. I'm not trying to control the ego, because that's what you resist persists. The ego is going to resist that. It's like, you don't own me. I'm going to rise up and like squash everything. I'm going to be defiant. I'm a defiant teenager now. No, I don't want that. So anyway, it's fun. It's fun as a practice, I guess, as a fascination for me right now in my journey of like playing with the ego this way. Like, what's our happy place with each other? You know, harmonizing the ego in every part of my life means also understanding where it's not harmonized in the first place. Where is it a little bit too defiant? Where is it a little bit too slippery? Where is it hiding in the shadows? Where have I lost it somewhere in a not good way? Like it's still off doing its stuff without me even being aware of it. That's what I mean by losing it. Sometimes I lose it in that it feels like at rest and it's taken a nice long nap and I'm like, man, it's peaceful around here. Like, yeah, so it's like it has all the elements of raising a kid. In all those years of like, you know, just it's just so much like that. It's such a good analogy for all you parents out there. I feel like I have to say this. Like, I've never birthed a child into the world, but I've helped raise 3 boys, in case you weren't aware, from very young ages. So I'm very much aware of the phases of adolescence and young adulthood. Well, having gone through them myself, but also from the other gender's perspective. Like, I've got both perspectives, and like, there's more than 2 perspectives, of course. It's not just male, female. I'm just saying, like, there's like the ability to recognize nuance, similarities and differences between experience, no matter how many different experiences we're dealing with here. There's the ability to recognize nuance, is what I'm getting at. So even without having understood every specific scenario of raising kids. Anywho, so for anybody who's helped or been around, like even before raising kids, it was with nieces and nephews, from the outside looking into the siblings' perspectives of raising their kids, and just all those phases, relearning things from that perspective, relearning like what I went through is my own personal lived experience going through those ages, and then on the outside, like rites of passage, like letting kids make the mistakes because they are learning, teaching moments within the boundaries of safety, you know. And so I feel like my ego is like, okay, now that our kids are like into adulthood, the youngest turned 18, so technically adulthood, however, you know how that goes. There's some years left until full-fledged adulthood. Drink this while it's still warm and yummy. So the ego's kind of like that. And with a lot of these lessons in the Course in Miracles, it has brought me to a place of like harmonizing the ego. I don't know another way to put it right now. I'm not trying to control it. I'm not trying to kill it. Definitely don't want to kill it. I don't feel like this lifetime I'm living right now is for me to have ego death. I've experienced levels of that in my life, especially the ayahuasca experience, which again, I should just do a whole bunch of videos on that alone. But, and it's, I know that this lifetime for me, somewhere deep in me, I feel like I know I'm meant to harmonize my ego and understand what that feels like, to have peace with it while it's still being a useful part of me. And not just utilitarian useful, but like I have this fascination with understanding from a felt sense of understanding, not just knowledge understanding, of what a really, really, really healthy relationship with ego really looks and feels like. What is that? I feel like it's starting to happen just by wanting it. Remember that tripod analogy of change and transformation? Like this, the desire's there. Now, through this practice, daily practice, the commitment is finally there. It's building, has been building, it's anchored in. The commitment to this, naming the want to do this, the desired, like, I feel like there's a purpose behind it. There's a commitment there now. There's also intention. And it's, yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't want to kill the ego. I don't want ego death in this lifetime. I'm human for a reason, and one of my reasons is learning to harmonize the ego and understand what a healthy ego looks like. I think because also when I think about ancestral healing, I really see now how unhealthy ego has played out on both side lines of my family in different ways. The father line, oh Nelly, if you know my family, you know about ego. Yeah, it's by naming it, I don't feel the shame anymore, because people, being from a small town, people know more about me, meaning my family, than I know. Like, people know things about my family that I don't even know. Working in a bar, when I was a bartender for a few years between like career transition, what a fertile ground of healing. It was such a crucial part of my journey. Still is. I might still fill in once in a while, dip my toes back in as they need help, because I love them so much. I truly love that job. But anyway, in that world, you meet the old timers, for example, who are like, oh, you're a blah, 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 like my last name, because I don't have my maiden name right now. So that's a whole separate story. I'm sure there was some shame around taking my maiden name back. I've been divorced for 15 years. I'm remarried now as of last year, but I was divorced for 15 years and still kept my ex-husband's last name. We haven't even talked. We do not keep in touch whatsoever. Not out of animosity, just out of, when you vibrate out of each other's lives, it's that kind of feeling. There's just a blankness there. There's no feeling. Like, there's just nothing. Nothing good, nothing bad. I have fond memories, don't get me wrong. It's just, I was like, do you mind if I keep your last name? And he's like, I don't care. Do what you want, that's fine. And so I kept it, and I never changed it back. 15 years. I could have. Why didn't I? Yeah, there was a shame element there to taking my family last name again. I didn't recognize the shame at the time. Oh, yeah. So anyway, there's something about being shameful of the father line. Not like super dirty, worst of the worst, if you're gonna like put a level to the shame. It's just, there's something there. Just to kind of characterize it, if you're wondering. It's not like, I'm sure on some levels it is, but the way I feel about it, I'm not like, yeah, I'll tell people what my last name is, and I'll talk fondly of my family. I love them. There's just something there, and that I feel like needs healed. And there's some ancestral healing stuff behind it. And I'm like, I know part of my purpose in this lifetime is to do some ancestral healing. I just know that. I don't know how I know it, I just know it. So I think there's some, ego is probably a part of that, because it runs wild on the father line. Not all of them, but it's there. And it runs in me. So I'm harmonizing in myself, looking at the family lines. And so these old timers at the bar, they know things about my family that I would probably be ashamed to learn. So I'm like, I don't need to know. Sometimes I love the old stories. Like, there's a lot of, this word is so outdated, but womanizing. There's a lot of female subjectivity on the male family line that I am shameful of and angry about. Like, oh, it's gross. It's so gross. And to know that runs through my father and his father and maybe their siblings, the men in the family, like, where'd that come from? Like, my great grandma, she was just this sweet little old woman from Wales, like, but I don't know her life story, and I don't know what her husband was like, as he was gone before I was born. So like I have this curiosity of like, where does this come from? Because they all respected her. From every story I've ever heard, they respected grandma, mom. And yet something was in the mail that was like womanizing. Like this sexual inappropriateness. I don't even know how deep that goes, and I'm sure I'd be ashamed to find out. And I don't know how else to say it. So, oh my roommate's, my housemate's awake. I hope I didn't wake her up. So I know there's some shame I have about that, especially being like, I'm wanting to heal that stuff inside myself. Like, the Me Too movement hit hard with me. I'm like, yeah, me too. Oh, I've been subjected to some nasty stuff. I've subjected myself to some nasty stuff because of our culture and not knowing better and not having boundaries because of our culture. And so I'm here to heal some of that. And these old timers tell me stories, and I'm like, ugh. You know more about my family than I ever want to know. So there's stuff I do want to heal. And some of that means I might have to dig into it a little deeper. Some of it just means forgiveness, even for the stuff I don't know. Extending grace, compassion, helping, being there when my father finally shows signs of wanting, the desire to heal. It started to happen since I've been back home, like just little glimpses, and I was like, who is this person? Who is this man? He has this, what? He has the capacity for this? Wow, maybe he does. So obviously I am all for it. I'm like, yeah, I still got to work through some anger and some like disappointment and some like shame and all that stuff. And I gotta stop saying but, because there's an and also. I am here for him. Oh, are you ready to heal this? Because you get no judgment from me. I'll deal with my old angers and resentments. That I can heal that. I know how now. I know how to work through that. And I can also be here for you if you have the capacity. If you are opening up to me, that means you don't have to. You can do it on your own. But when you showed me in those couple of moments, like remorse, a desire to heal something deep, oh my God, I'm here for that. Whew, what a tangent, guys. Is that what I am not the victim of the world I see? Man, it must be related. That victimhood, ego, unhealthy ego, and victimhood runs in both of my sides of my family. Victimizing more so in the father line. Victimhood in the mother line. Whoa. Talk about, I feel like I've embodied both of those things at different points in my life. Whoa. So what's interesting about these lessons is the ones that I really feel into and I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like in the moment, oh yeah. I'm like, I'm going to have so much to talk about in reflection. And then it's like crickets. Like, no, that was it. Feeling into it was the reflection. I don't know, it's weird. And then the ones where I'm like not connecting with it in the moment, I just practice it. Like I'm not the victim of the world I see. I'm like, yeah, I don't feel like a victim. I never have. Like, I don't get it, but I'm doing it because it says I should do it because I know stuff comes later. It always does. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. And I'm not doing a great job at it. Like, I'm not really like doing it, but I'm doing it. I'm not the victim of the world I see. I'm like, I don't really feel it. And now in reflection, it's like light bulb, connection, connect the dots. Don't you love that about everything? So it sounds like I've opened a couple more doors, like into ancestral healing here, that I've been knocking on for the past year. And sometimes the doors have remained closed. They weren't ready to open yet. And I feel like just now, like a couple little doors creaked open. So thank you. So I do want to say, like, read part of this from lesson 31. It says, there was something. Oh, the idea for today is also a particularly useful one to use as a response to any form of temptation that it may arise. It is a declaration that you will not yield to it and put yourself in bondage. Isn't that fascinating? By saying the words, and that's just it. It's a practice. Like I didn't feel into it in the moment. But because it's a practice, it's a declaration on some level. I am not the victim of the world I see. So let's say I have this temptation that pops into mind throughout the day. It says, whatever arises. This is a useful one to say, I'm not the victim of the world I see. I don't know, I guess I could use it for coffee. Let's say I was sitting in class and I'm like feeling a little drowsy. And I'm like, man, I could really, I smell some coffee. Oh, I just want that coffee so bad. Like I want it. It would be so good for me. I'd be so like this and that. Like the mind goes wild, right? Like it would do this for me and I'd feel so good. And it takes me right out of my present experience into some other wishing for, grasping, clinging, attaching behavior with the mind. But then if I were to stop and say, I'm not a victim of this, of the world I see, it doesn't have me in its grasp, in its bondage. I don't need that. How liberating. Although, coffee, I love it. So yeah, it's very useful, isn't it? To just say that it's, again, it goes back to that commitment. Like I desire something. Like maybe my temptation, man, I really don't want to be tempted by this, but I am. So, but I have a desire not to be, at least. But then by saying this, I have a commitment, a declaration. I'm not the victim of the world I see. I'm not. It's like, say, what is it? Fake it till you make it, which I don't like that phrase necessarily, but it's like, say it till you make it. Like saying it is embodied. Faking is just faking. But say it till you make it maybe makes me feel a little better. Like it feels more true. By saying it, I'm like, oh yeah, I felt that vibration here. Like, I feel good. I'm not the victim of the world I see. What is going on? Sorry. I am not the victim of the world I see. I'm not. It fills me, it just like makes me want to sit up straight. Like, I'm not the victim. Yeah, my shoulders even want to come back, whereas like before, maybe I'm like, it's like we're just studying posture now too, of course, so it's all related for me. But so in the moment, I didn't really connect with this lesson so much. In reflection, oh yeah, I'm sure you can tell. I hope I didn't wake my housemate up. I don't feel like I'm that loud, and my AC's on. Maybe she just had to go to the bathroom. Her bathroom's out there, so I hope that's it. I'm just really conscious that she enjoys a lot of sleep. Like, not an over about, but like appreciates what it does for her, and I would never want to interfere with that, especially on the weekend. So that's just a little side note. Yeah, I think I will do a beach walk. It is 6 o'clock. The sun's already up. I should have probably cut this shorter and gone to the beach sooner. But you know what else I'm trying to do? Is cut the word should out of my vocabulary. It is no longer useful to me. It does not resonate with me. I feel gross when I say it. I love that word gross. Ugh, it's gross. Yeah. I've just a little confession time this week. I did something gross. I said something I shouldn't have. I just said the should word again, didn't I? I really could have done without saying that word, and I felt gross. And I went into the ocean the other day and released it. I said that was gross, and I cried, and I was just like, I surrender this. I don't want it in me anymore. I want it out of my body, my vocabulary, blah, 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 blah. So that's what I'd like to do with the word should. It's gross. Do or do not. Should is not useful. Back to that other reflection I just did in the morning journal where I said do better. Like, I love that phrase now. It's like, no, I shouldn't do better. Just do better. Just do it. Or don't. Just get on, keep on keeping on. Get on getting on. Like, don't just wallow in the, oh, I should do this. I don't wanna. Like, we don't have time for that anymore in our society, do we? We don't have time for that anymore. Just do it. So, yeah, should is a comparison word, and I'm done comparing. I released judgment. I released comparison. And I feel like I am not a victim of the world I see is totally related to that. It's like do or do not, but should is a victim word. It's like it keeps me out of my power. Victimhood is out of my power. If I'm in my power, I'm not a victim. If I'm in my power, I'm not using the word should because I'm doing the thing that I should be doing. I'll end with that. That felt good in my body. Love you guys. Bye.